Hey guys, my name is Aditya and you have tuned into Channel ACube. Welcome to Chapter 2 of the Power Platform tutorials. In the last video, which I will link up there, we created a 3-page app. So let me bring that up real quick, where we took a scenario of a table management system and we developed an app to have a browse gallery, which was showing us data from an Excel sheet. Then we can view that on the details screen, and we also had an input form so that we could input new values into this Excel sheet. So like we discussed in the last video, chapter 2 is going to be about conditional input. And what I mean by conditional input is that few of these columns here, like the guest type, the server name, the status, have a preset list of values that can go into it. For example, we have the number of tables we have down here, which are 6. The guest type can either be standard, VIP, or special care. The server name, we have 4 servers right now: James, Alex, Victoria, and Archie, and they can be one of those. So we're going to look at how we can enable conditional input on these forms. So let's roll that intro and get into the video right away. All right, so we're going to start off from the edit screen of the app here. And last time we did a quick data entry. I'm going to hit the play button so that we can preview the app over here. And here, as you can see, the guest type is a text entry field. The server name is a text entry field. The status and the table number are all free text entries. So basically, I can go in and type literally anything over here, and it is going to take that in as an input. But this is not what we exactly want, because I know I have 6 tables and the table number should be any number between 1 and 6. Similarly, there are certain statuses that a table needs to be at, and anything else apart from that wouldn't make a lot of sense. I know I have 4 servers in my restaurant, so putting a different name there wouldn't make sense either. And the guest type can be one of 3, which we have standardized. And we have standard, VIP, and special care. So putting anything else apart from that, again, will not make a lot of sense. The main reason why we need to put conditional inputs on our form is because when we do this data entry, or when the data is entered on the Excel table, it has to be consistent throughout the system. And if we plan to represent this data later in the form of a pivot table, or if we connect it to a Power BI report, it's going to be very easy for us to get this consistent data and put it in the form of charts or graphs and make a lot of sense from it. So I'm going to get out of the preview section now. And a quick handy tool, a tip would be to hold down the Alt key, because I don't need to keep reviewing the app. If I hold down the Alt key, it directly allows me to interact with all the elements like I'm previewing it. So currently we can see that all of these are text fields. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the form here first. And here we can see that there are 8 fields selected to the right hand side. If I select these, guest type is currently selected there. And it says that the control type is set to edit text. Now if I click on this drop down, it actually gives me several options to select from. I can view text, view phone, view email, edit text, edit multi-line text. It has an allowed values options, rich text, and edit rich text. So view and edit rich text. Now the one that we are interested in over here is the allowed values, because we expect a drop down to populate over here. And if once I click on that, it's immediately going to put a drop down arrow. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change all of the entries where I need conditional input to be allowed values as the control type. So status also becomes allowed values, and table number would also become allowed values. That's over here. So once that is done, if I interact with the app now, I can see that instead of a free entry, it is now a drop down box. But as you can tell, there are no values which actually show in the drop down box. Now remember that I am using the table management, which is an Excel sheet on OneDrive, which is the backbone of the data. which this form is going to feed into or even display. Now, I could add conditional logics to the sheet itself. So, for example, if I wanted to add a conditional logic here, I can select the entire column. I can go into data. I can say data validation, and I can pull it from a list. And to enter the list values, I'm going to go into guest type, select these three values, and click on apply. Now what happens over here is whenever I try to make a new entry, it's going to give me the data validation over here. The problem with this is that PowerApps is not smart enough to detect the data validation directly from the Excel sheet that we are using. So even if I refresh this, it's not actually going to populate these values under the guest type. If this were a SharePoint list that you were using, it is actually smart enough to pull the data validation from a SharePoint's list, but that's not what we are using here. So how do we incorporate allowed values on a Power App where it doesn't pull the data validation from the Excel sheet? So let's look at that. What I'm going to do is go back into the tree view, and I'm going to select the guest type element, which is this data card value 16. Now, if you see the items and the value entry here are grayed out. It says it's logged because it depends on something. And when I click on depends on, it takes me to the advanced section, and it says unlock to change properties. Now, the value that we plan to change over here is this bit where it says items, where it says parent allowed items is the dependency, and the value is just save values. But this is what I need to change. So we're going to go and unlock the properties for this entry. And once I hit unlock, everything opens out. It's no longer grayed out. And in the items section, I need to populate it with the list of items that I wanted to show in the dropdown. Now remember, this has to be an array. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these brackets, which defines an array. And the guest type is supposed to be, according to our sheet, it's either standard, VIP, or special care. So I'm going to enter those values inside double quotes, which makes them a text value. So that's standard. I'm going to add a comma, and then the next value is going to be VIP, again a comma, and the next value is going to be special care, and close those off. And that makes it an array now. Now you can see that it's immediately populated the first value over here. And if I quickly interact with the app in the preview mode, we can see that it has given an option of selecting one of the guest types which we have entered into the array. And we're going to do the same thing for the rest of them. So let me quickly complete that. All right, so that is done. I am quickly going to go through the app again. Let me manage this to viewing so that it's only a read-only instance. And getting back onto PowerApps, I'm going to play this bad boy. And let's go and add a new data entry. So looking at it is going to be booking ID 4. I'm going to add 4 there. The date is going to be today's date, which is 17th. Click on OK. Let's make the booking at around 8 p.m. Feedback is none. The guest name is Barney. And look at that. So we have the ability now to select the guest type just with the click of a button. Barney is a special care guest. he's going to be served by Alex, and the table is reserved, and the table number is going to be 3. And if I make this entry in there, it's going to go ahead and write that data instance. It's going to add the entry on our table, and I can go in, and let's say Barney has checked in now. It's 8 p.m. I'm going to go, let's make sure it's got added over here first. So I'm going to head back into the tracker. Did it refresh? Let me quickly refresh this table. So we have Barney's entry over here. Why would the date show like that? That's better. So we have Barney's entry over here at table number 7, special care reserved, and so on and so forth. I go back into PowerApps, I edit it, and from reserved, I change this to occupied and hit done. It's gonna refresh the sheet. Okay, once again, change it to viewing and hit that. There we go. So that has switched it to occupied. Let me refresh this sheet, and that should ideally show as occupied. There we go. It's loaded and saved. So here we saw a quick way to add data validation onto PowerApps. This is extremely useful. It helps you maintain data in a consistent way, and even if there are multiple people using the app, it basically standardizes the way data is input onto a sheet, or the way it gets maintained is more consistent. Making sense out of this data later becomes very easy. There are no grammatical errors, no spelling mistakes, no spell checks required, because essentially you remove the component of free text entry, and you just give them the data validation parameter where they have to select from a specific set of options. It also becomes easier to add and remove options later on. So if I were to hire someone else later, then I can just go in and change this bit and add a name to the items list over here, which will add it as a selectable option, and the same gets entered onto the sheet. So there's no data validation as such required on the sheet, because the app takes care of it, and it works really well. Well, I hope you liked this video and found it useful, and I urge you to subscribe to the channel. Chapter 3 is going to be about adding a bit of conditional logic for the rest of the fields. For example, automatically pulling the booking ID, looking at the data that we have on the sheet so that it populates with the new booking ID automatically. The other conditional logic would be to only show tables which are not occupied or reserved when a new booking is taken in, and that kind of requires a bit of if conditions and looking up the data on the Excel table on a real-time basis. So it's going to be quite interesting to add these logical inputs and have them coded onto the Power App. So stick around for that. See you guys in the next one.